Welcome to this video. The topic of this video is file input and output. Okay, so what is file input and output? Well, it's the act of importing data from a file or exporting data to a file. And in more technical terms, you would say reading data from a file or writing data to a file. And why is it important for us to be able to use file input and output? Well, the first obvious answer is if you have a large amount of data that you're trying to bring into your program, if you don't know how to do file input and output, it's going to take you a long time to manually enter all that data in. So being able to do file input and output will save you a bunch of time because you will be able to access the data that you are trying to retrieve and then use a for loop to process the data into your program, into an array or something of that sort. And then another reason that file input and output is important is because files exist even after program execution. Okay, so when a program is done running, the data that was in the program is gone. It no longer exists. It only exists when the program is running. Okay, so if we want to have our data exist beyond that time, we need to export the data to files. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to show you is how to use file input and output, the syntax, the keywords, and how to do it. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to need to do is declare a file type pointer. Okay, so this to me is a pointer to a file. Some people say establish a file stream. It has pointer notation, so that's why I like to think of it as a pointer to a file. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is set that file pointer equal to the fopen function. And the arguments of the fopen function are the name of the file that you want to open and what you want to open the file for. Okay, so R is to open the file for reading, W would be for writing, A would be for appending, and if you want to do R plus, that is for reading and writing. W plus is for reading and writing, but it also will check if the file exists. If it does exist, it will truncate the file down to 0, and then that's where you'll start writing into the file. If the file doesn't exist, then it will create it and you'll start writing into the file at the beginning of it. Okay, so this is going to be for reading right now. Alright, this is a good thing always to include a condition for if your file pointer is pointing to basically a random space in memory. Say maybe I didn't capitalize the O like that, and so it's not really pointing at the file that I want it to. Okay, so if it is pointing at a random space in memory, you could get a bunch of wacky things happening and eventually probably crash the program. So it's always good to just have this case. If it's not pointing at a true spot in memory, then it'll just show you that error and you can go back and fix it. Okay, so because we're doing reading, we should be expecting to scan something to that file, and the function for that is fscanf. Very similar to just the scanf function, except you have f in front of it for file. And the arguments for that are the pointer, the file pointer that you set up already, and the element or the data that you would like to read from the file. Okay, so this is just the first data, which was just the number of entries, 24. Okay, so here we are, that's the first entry. Okay, so fscanf again, this is going to be to process the data that is here in a for loop into these two arrays that we've already declared, hour and temp. Okay, I'll just go ahead and run the program so that you can really see how it works. it's just going to run and basically be done. So the for loop processed the data from the file into the two arrays. We use the fscanf function for that. Then we printed that, so that's what we had there now. Okay, so that's reading data from a file, and now that we're done, we're going to close the file. Okay, so now that we've done that, I also want to show you how to write to a file. And so what I've done for that is I basically said that I changed all the temperatures to 80 degrees because, well, I just like it a little bit warmer. It's been cold lately, and if I were God, I would make the temperature 80 degrees. So here we have, I already changed the temperature to 80 degrees. It already ran it and changed them. So now in this text file, all the temperatures should be 80 degrees. And you look at that, there they are. They're all 80 degrees for all day, all night. Wouldn't that be lovely? Okay, so let's look at that. We use the W for writing to. Okay, so I didn't have to establish the pointer again because it's already declared up here. I did have to reopen it because I closed it. Okay, so I reopened it for writing this time. Same if statement, just in case we're not pointing at a true spot or at the right file, basically. Now because we're writing to the file, we use the fprintf function, and that will write the first data point from the variable n into the file, and then we use a for loop to process the data from our two arrays into the file. Okay, so that's now why the temperatures are all 80 degrees. Alright, and that is the advantages of using file input and output, and thank you for watching this video.